Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel. This week, I'm going to show you guys how to adjust your Sturmey Archer 3-speed hub and get all three of those gears working nice and smooth for you. But before we get into today's video, if you are new to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button for me. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon or next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss this awesome cycling content we got on this channel. So right into the video, we have this old Huffy from the 70s here with a good old Sturmey Archer 3-speed hub on the back. And so today I'm going to take you guys through the process of getting that hub all adjusted, making sure everything works all good. To do this job, you're not going to need anything. No tools, nothing. You can do this all by hand as long as it's all together. However, I'm going to take it apart a little bit. That way you guys can see what's going on a little bit easier. So let's move over to the rear of the bike. Let's get started working on it. So when you go ahead and you look at the back of one of these bikes with the Sturmey Archer 3-speed hub, pretty much what you're going to see a small little chain coming out of the center of your axle bolt, and you're going to have your cable coming up to that at this point right here, and then pretty much a tensioner right here to pretty much add and release tension on the cable. So I'm going to pull this apart, that way you guys can see what happens exactly when you shift gears. So I went ahead and I pulled the axle nut off. That way you guys can see what's going on here. Pretty much inside of here you have this little rod here. This little rod has a little chain, and that's actually what attaches to your cable up on the front. So this little rod is going to be threaded all the way into there. So you just kind of push it in and you just turn it just like you would thread a bolt. It's designed so it centers itself, and once you turn it out enough, it should stop just like any other bolt. Just like so. So this is pretty much what it's going to look like without your axle nut on. It's going to look very similar with the axle nut there. So once you go ahead and you put pressure on this by pulling the chain, this is actually going to pull and a rod is going to come out. And you will see that rod come out there. And that's actually what selects what gear you're going to be in. So you have 3 speeds on this, right? So how do you tell what gear is what? Obviously that thing pulls all the way out, right? So it goes all the way from all the way in to all the way out. How do you know which gear is what gear? So I'll tell you, when you first put this in, as it is right now, so this all the way in like this, without pulling it at all, that's going to be gear number 3. Gear number 2 is when the chain is pulling out and that barrel is just showing through. You can just barely see that barrel. You can just barely see the little barrel crossing where the threads would be, crossing where the ends of the threads would be. And then gear number 1 is going to be all the way out, is going to be gear number 1. So pretty much what you're looking for is that to be right there in the middle for gear number 2, all the way in for gear number 3, all the way out for gear number 1. So now the axle nut is back on, tightened down, and we got our chain all the way through there. You might be like, how do I tell what gear it's in now? You can't see the end of the threads anymore, right? So that is the point of these 2 little windows here. There's a window right there, and there's one on the back side as well. You can look through there, and that is lined up perfectly where you can see that little barrel right through that hole. It's very hard to see on camera, but you might be able to see it. But that is where you're going to be looking to tell how far out that barrel is, to tell you if you're in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd gear. So very easy just to look through that window to tell you where you are. So now that we know what gear is what gear, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to line this guy up with our cable so it's kind of in line, and we're going to start to screw it in. And of course we need to make sure up at the lever we are in gear number 3. That gives you the most slack on your chain. Now what you want to do is this little lock nut guy here, go ahead and run that guy all the way back. That way it's out of the way, not getting in any problem. And then with your actual cable guy here, you want to threads about halfway on to the threads. And that's going to get you a pretty good starting point so that you can either tighten or loosen it from there. In my case, that's about halfway right there. So then what we're going to do, you're in 3rd gear right now, we're going to go ahead and pull it up to 2nd gear up on the shifter. As you might be able to tell, it didn't really move that much. There was a lot of cable slack in there. And you're going to go ahead and just tighten up your barrel adjuster till you can just barely see the barrel come through. And once that little rod is through there and you can see just the tip of it passing off of the threads, go ahead and leave that there for a second. Once you have the center gear set, you're going to go up to your shifter and you're going to, of course, going to pedal. So with these internal hubs, they do not like to shift unless you are fully pedaling. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to shift through our gears. Make sure it feels like we are actually shifting gears. And as you can tell, it's pulling that cable each time. So as you can see, 1 pulls it a little farther, 2 is back, and then 3 is all the way out. So you need to make sure it actually shifts through. Now 3rd gear, of course, you'll notice that the wheel is spinning faster than the actual sprocket is. We go into our 2nd gear, which is right there. In second gear, they're moving just about the same pace as each other. And if we go all the way into first gear, you will notice it very slightly, the sprocket moves a little faster than the wheel. So that's going to be your first gear. And you should be able to go up and down, and you should feel a difference between each of the gears. And then once we do that, we can go ahead and look back in here and make sure our 2 is in the perfect spot, which it definitely is still in the perfect spot. And we can tighten down our lock nut right there, and your Sturmey Archer 3-speed hub is all adjusted, ready to ride. So now that you have your Sturmey Archer all adjusted, ready to go, let's talk about a couple things with this. Number one, their shifting system's old. It's not going to feel like your modern stuff on like your mountain bike or road bike. It's not going to feel like that. It's going to be a little bit more clunky than those are. Along with that, the gear ratios really aren't that huge in the Sturmey Archer 3-speed hubs. You're not going to notice a huge difference like you would on the wide range cassette on a modern mountain bike, but you'll notice a little bit of difference between each of the gears. Along with that, this is just your little standard little chain here. So you make sure that that thing has oil just like your chain does, so that way it moves freely, doesn't bind up, doesn't get locked up, and you have no problem there. And if you have problems with that chain getting stuck in certain spots, check if that chain is bent. You can bend it back easily, not a problem. And if you really need a little bit extra help, you can put a little bit of grease on the end of this axle nut here, just to give it a little bit something to move over a little bit easier, make a shift through the gears. But that is pretty simple to get that adjusted. Hopefully you guys are able to learn how to adjust your Sturmey Archer 3-speed rear hubs. If you did and you learned something, give this video a big thumbs up. Appreciate the support. Any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section below. Love talking to you guys, love answering questions you guys have, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today.